Hey everyone out there, this is the Rock Office, and I'm your host, Bill Smith.
And I'm Kevin Davis.
Got another exciting episode ahead for you today. Of course, we have our top 10 list, my pick of the week, and we're introducing a new segment that we're calling File 13.
We've also got our Battle Royale this week that's going to basically be a viewer request, and that's going out to Joe in Wisconsin. We're covering this week Poison versus Motley Crue, so you're not going to want to miss that.
All right. Well, without any further ado, let's get into our top 10 list this week. And for you, we have the top 10 greatest live albums ever recorded. Now, of course, we're going to give you our top 5 as usual, and you can visit our Tumblr site to get both of our full top 10 picks plus picks of the past at therrockoffice.tumblr.com. But to kick things off this week, my number 5 is Bruce Springsteen in concert, MTV Plugged. This was recorded in 1992 when the E Street Band was on a hiatus, and it was for an Unplugged special that Bruce Springsteen, hired these session musicians to go on tour with him. He didn't like the way that the acoustic performances were turning out, so he said, hey, I'm the boss, I'm going to do what I want to do, and he plugged in. And I got to tell you, I think it's an incredible performance. I love the electric version of Atlantic City on there. There's a version of Light of Day, which was a song he wrote for a Joan Jett and Michael J. Fox film in the 80s. I love the version of Darkness on the Edge of Town, which he rarely does in concert. And I think the version of Thunder Road is probably the best recorded live version I've ever heard. So my number 5, Bruce Springsteen in concert, MTV Plugged.
Not sure if I would have picked Bruce Springsteen. In fact, I know I wouldn't have. Not a big fan of his politics. However, I have never seen or heard this particular concert, so I can't really speak on it too much.
I think you'd like it.
All right. Or not.
Or not. Or not.
Yeah, you never know. Now, my number 5 is Lynyrd Skynyrd's One More from the Road. This particular album was recorded as one of their final actual recordings. It was recorded in Atlanta, and this was recorded just prior to the now famous plane crash that took many of the members of the band. I like this album because it's gritty, it's raw, it shows who Lynyrd Skynyrd is. It's got a lot of that live atmosphere that you can hear. A lot of whistles coming from the crowd. It was taken in a smaller venue. I really like it. And one of my favorite tracks of theirs, "Teeth from Texas," is on this particular album. And if you haven't heard it, I definitely suggest you go out and check it out.
Man, can't go wrong with the late great Ronnie Van Zant.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Okay, my number 4 is the band The Last Waltz. This to me is probably the band at their finest. It was recorded Thanksgiving 1976, the final performance of the 5 original members of the band, which is Robbie Robertson, Rick Danko, Richard Manuel, Garth Hudson, and the recently departed Levon Helm. A lot of guest appearances from Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, Muddy Water, Ronnie Hawkins. Great album. It really just captures what the band did live, and just the powerful songs that Robbie Robertson was able to write. I love the version of The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down. It's my favorite recorded version, period. I love their version of It Makes No Difference on here. So great album. We recently just lost Levon Helm. A terrible loss for the world. He was a great musician, and but this is my number 4, the band The Last Waltz.
I think it's a great pick. The band, this very easily is one of the best live albums, hands down, and I think it's a great pick for you, Bill.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Now, my number 4 pick is Jay-Z's MTV Unplugged. I tried to go a little bit out of the box on this one. I tried to get a little bit more, modernized, if you will. And one of the main reasons why I actually chose this album, Bill, is because, when you look at hip-hop, which we covered a lot of hip-hop in last week's episode. If you haven't checked it out, check that out. But, hip-hop is really primarily put together in the studio atmosphere. And for a hip-hop artist to be able to come out and do an Unplugged, it was pretty neat. They were backed up by the Roots on this particular performance. And it really just shows why Jay-Z is one of the best in the business. He comes out, he kills it. And this is really a great performance.
Yeah, can't go wrong with Jay-Z. Arguably one of the best MCs on the scene right now. The Roots, hands down, not only probably the best band in hip hop, but one of the best bands currently. And, you know, a lot of other MCs have tried the unplugged thing. I know LL Cool J did about 20 years ago, and it just didn't pull off as well as Jay-Z's. So I like the pick. Good choice.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, my number 3 is Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison. This album is a perfect live recording from the fact that there are imperfections in the recording. You get the background noises and the hoots and the hollers of the crowd. It obviously recorded at Folsom Prison. Johnny Cash, one of his most popular songs is Folsom Prison Blues. So I love that rendition of this on this album. But the one song that really just grabs my attention, I think is brilliant, is his rendition of Long Black Veil. Like I said, perfect live recording, and it's the Man in Black. You can't go wrong with Johnny Cash. Just showcases the talent that he was and the talent that the band that was backing him had at the time.
Yeah, I think this is a great pick. I'll be covering this here in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
Now, my number 3 pick is actually one that I don't think this guy's going to agree with, but who cares? Number 3 on my list is Nirvana's MTV Unplugged from New York. Now, you know, Nirvana, always referenced when you think of grunge music, and that's actually one of the main reasons why I actually chose this particular performance in this particular album, is because when it came to the MTV Unplugged atmosphere, you know, grunge rock and unplugged just doesn't go together. You know, they don't kind of, you know, like mixing, you know, oil and water. They just don't go together. But when you actually listen to this album, there's actually some intricacies here that you wouldn't normally be able to experience with Nirvana. You know, Kurt Cobain puts down some pretty great vocals on this particular album. You know, Dave Grohl, who's with the Foo Fighters now, but Dave Grohl playing the drums back then, you know, some brushwork. It was really pretty neat. And this was something that we hadn't seen from Nirvana, and probably something that we probably wouldn't have seen much from them after the fact if it weren't for Kurt Cobain, you know, taking his own life shortly thereafter. So that's why I picked this particular album, Bill.
I'll be talking about Nirvana a little later in the episode, but, you know, I think it's an interesting pick. You know, the one thing I can say about the album, it really introduced Pat Smear on the scene, who later became one of the guitar players for the Foo Fighters. And I will say, though, that the songs in this Nirvana Unplugged translated a lot better than some of their peers in the Unplugged scene. I know Alice in Chains did an Unplugged, Stone Temple Pilots did an Unplugged. I will say that I think for Nirvana, they were able to pull it off a little bit better than some of their grunge counterparts. So,
all right.
Yeah, overall, I'm not a big Nirvana fan, though.
Kind of could have told you that.
Yeah, I don't get it. All right, my number 2 is The Who, Live at Leeds. Now, this is one of rock's premier bands doing what they do best. At the time, these 4 guys, Pete Townsend, Roger Daltrey, John Entwistle, and Keith Moon, were just a hit-making machine. Roger Daltrey sounded so good with his voice at the time. It was so strong. There were very few vocalists that could touch him. You know, Keith Moon is one of the best drummers in rock history. The 4 guys together making this album, it's raw, it's powerful, it's impactful, and still to this day, people still hail it as one of the greatest live recordings ever. So my pick for number 2, The Who, Live at Leeds.
Absolutely love this pick. You know, definitely could range anywhere from 1 through 10. I like it in the top 5. I actually have it on my list. It's further down the list. But fact of the matter is, anywhere that you ever look, or anybody that you ever talk to that's a music aficionado, and you ask them greatest live albums ever, they're going to have this at least in their top 10, if not closer to the top. Great album.
Yeah, great.
Absolutely. My number 2 pick is actually Johnny Cash, Live at Folsom Prison. Now, you know, Bill brought up some very good points, so I'm not going to kind of kick a dog when they're down. But here's the thing. This is why I particularly picked this album, aside from some of the things that he said. 2 reasons particularly. Number 1, atmosphere. You know, you can hear things on this album that you would never hear on any other album. You know, prison doors slamming, PA announcements by the prison guards. And number 2, because it is exactly that, is it's an album. It's not made so that you could just pop down a track or, you know, or listen to a particular song. You need to listen to this album start to finish, because Johnny Cash laid these tracks down for the plights that these particular inmates were going through. You know, he really tried to tailor his performance to, you know, meet their their need as far as that was concerned. And when you listen to this, eyes closed, headphones on, you really can picture yourself being there. And I think that's one of the greatest parts about this album.
I can't add anything else to it.
All right. Who you got as number one on your list there, Bill?
All right, my number one, in my opinion, the greatest live album ever recorded, Kiss Alive. Now, Kiss Alive was recorded in 1975, and it features all their hits from that point in their career. It has the lineup that all the Kiss fans want to see, and all four members are still around that they could do it again. Ace, Peter, Paul, and Gene. Just incredible. This album, in my opinion, is the lynchmark of what all live albums strive to be. In my opinion, there is no greater live recording. The version of Strutter, Deuce, the version of Rock and Roll All Night, which became a hit and really catapulted the band into mega stardom. Just incredible. The energy that they're putting off here, it's unmatched. And if you're a fan, you're a music aficionado, and you don't have this in your collection, I really question your devotion to the music.
I actually kind of, I have this on my list as well. I kind of knew that Bill would be having this on his list. I actually had a feeling it'd be way up there at the top. I wasn't sure about one, but it's good to see it's actually one on your list. I knew it would be right there. And it is a great album.
And it's during the era that everyone remembers. It's not the old, overbloated old farts that are parading around in fake makeup today. This is the era that everyone remembers, that they were at their prime, their best, their rawest, their most, their greatest period of songwriting, in my opinion.
They're most alive, you might say.
Ooh.
Yeah. I do agree.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Now, my number one, actually, is a Rush album. And I would like to say, before I even announce which one it is, there's lots of Rush albums I could have put in this spot, because Rush really, they put out live albums every 3 to 5 years. So with that being said, I went ahead and chose Rush in Rio. I chose this one for a couple of reasons. Number one, to tell you why I chose Rush. Rush is a players band. I mean, they are respected in the industry because they are so good at what they do. And if you are a musician, I think you can look at any one of those three members, whether it be, Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson, or Neil Peart, as being really at the top of what they do. With that being said, when they go out and they perform live, they nail it, and they nail it every time. And for individuals who aren't big fans of live albums like Bill, that prefer a studio album, that's about as close as you can come to studio, because they hit it on the head just like they would in the studio. Now, I went ahead and chose Rush in Rio because they were out of their element, if you will, in this particular album, because they were down in Rio. They had never been there before. They were playing a huge soccer stadium, over 60,000 fans there. You catch a lot of the atmosphere on this particular album. You can hear them chanting, and you can hear a lot of that going on. But also, obvious classic Rush is there. They just kill it in regards to the performance. The sound isn't the best on this particular album, but I didn't choose these based upon sound. I chose them based upon really, some of the aspects that went into it. In this particular one, it's another one like my Johnny Cash pick, where you can just put on the headphones, you can close your eyes, and you can almost picture being there. And for me, that's what a live album does.
Obviously, like I said before, Rush has many live albums. You can't really go wrong with any of them because they are such proficient musicians. And when I think of bands and I think of live albums, the three bands that come to my mind are Rush, Dave Matthews Band, and Grateful Dead, because it seems like they almost have as many live albums as they do studio albums. And I think that in Rush's case just goes to show their proficiency, that what you hear in the studio isn't a bunch of elaborate tricks, but the fact that they can duplicate that same sound in a live setting is a real testament to the musicianship that these three guys have. So Kevin, I think that's a great pick. I think you really couldn't have gone wrong with any of, even the recent one in Cleveland that they recorded. I think it's still a great recording, but I like the Rio one also.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. All right, well, now you know what we think. We want to know what you think. Make sure you go to our Tumblr page at therockoffice.tumblr.com, where you can see our full top 10 list, plus top 10 lists of the past, and leave a comment. Let us know. Are we off our rocker? Do you agree with us? Is there any that we forgot? We want to know these things. We don't know everything, so we want to hear from you guys. Make sure you leave us a comment on our Facebook page at facebook.com/rockoffice.
Also, go ahead and check us out on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Show us some love, man. The more people that we get over there, the more people that will ultimately view this and hopefully become fans of the Rock Office world as well. So we appreciate you watching.
And we are also now on iTunes. If you go to the podcast section and type in the Rock Office, we're the first ones that pop up. So make sure you subscribe to us there also. Give a big shout out to our friends in NASA, and shout out to Kevin, who hacked into their Hubble satellite, so now we have the Google Earth view here. But for this week's pick of the week, I have a brand new artist, real interesting guy. His name's Ben Rector, and the album is called Something Like This. Now, Ben Rector is a real interesting combination of what I would call a postmodern Dr. John meets Need to Breathe, who actually, he is on tour currently with Need to Breathe. And the sound is a really eclectic mix, real interesting, a lot of New Orleans flair, with a lot of Southern rock. And if you're familiar with Dr. John, if you're familiar with Need to Breathe, it's a good melding of what the two do. Now, Ben has had a lot of success on iTunes, and really without the help of a major label behind him. And this album really doesn't do justice to what Ben does with his band in a live show. I recently saw them opening for Need to Breathe when they were here in Cleveland, and fantastic, real tight unit, 4-piece band. Ben's real prolific on piano and equally as prolific on guitar. So if you get a chance to check these guys out on the road, I definitely would. Once again, this album is called Something Like This. Standout tracks include Let the Good Times Roll, and he has a really amazing cover of the Whitney Houston song, Wanna Dance With Somebody. So I would definitely check Ben Rector out. The name of the album, once again, is Something Like This. This week we're bringing you a brand new segment. It's called the File 13 segment. And this is where we take a classic album that for some reason people just seem to love and adore, but I really go by and say why. I just check it out and say, why is this album so good? And this week's Nirvana's Nevermind. Now, they just recently celebrated its 20th anniversary, and Kurt Cobain, dearly departed man who influenced a whole generation. And there's 3 things I can say about this album. The first one is Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters are incredible. The second good thing I can say about this album is that Butch Big, the producer, his band Garbage just released a new studio album after 7 years, and it's really good. And the third thing I can say good about this album is, well, in all honesty, Smells Like Teen Spirit, despite the angst, despite the fact that grunge music goes against everything that this stands for, is actually a really good pop song. But other than that, the album really isn't that good. I just don't get why people carry on about Nirvana like they do. I at the time, a big hair rock was the big thing, and when they came out, they were stripped down, 3-piece band, played real simple chords, real elegant music, or real simple music. It didn't have all that elegant proficiency that a lot of the hard rock bands and real popular rock bands at the time had. These guys just basically broke it down to 3 chords and the truth, if you will, and it really connected with people of my generation. But as time goes by, I have to say, listening to this album, it's really dated, and it's really, to me, just boggles my mind. I still don't understand what people hear and see in this band. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, some of their biggest hits, or most popular songs are on here. Obviously, Smells Like Teen Spirit, In Bloom. One of the other songs I think is kind of catchy is Polly, but quite frankly, I don't get it. I'm sorry, I don't get Nirvana. I guess as a music critic, you can think of me what you will, or people in my generation that love Nirvana and that are going on about, oh, Kurt Cobain's not here anymore, the future of rock is dead or whatever. I'm sorry, I don't get it. Quite frankly, listening to it back then and listening to it now, my opinion has not changed. I don't see it changing anytime soon. And I've really given this an open mind and an honest chance. So this CD goes in the File 13. Hey, everyone out there, we just want to take a moment and thank you for all the comments, all the participation, and all the love you've been showing us. We're doing this because you guys really are jumping on board and liking what we're doing, so we just want to take a moment to thank you. And just to let you know, at the Rock Office, we're really trying. We've brought you some celebrity interviews, and we are in the process of arranging some other ones. We will be letting you know about that in future episodes, but things are kind of growing here and expanding at the Rock Office. We have some interesting news. We are in the process of building a new set, relocating to a new office, if you will. And we want your involvement. We want you guys to know that we consider you part of our community, part of our family, if you will. And that being said, we have an exciting announcement of a contest that we are launching starting today that goes from today to July 1st. And to let you know about the contest, let you know a little bit about the information, the details, we're going to give it over to Kevin here. So, Kevin?
All right, yeah, Bill, what we're doing is we're going to have a contest, like Bill said, from today through July 1st, with all entries accepted in between that time. And what it is it's a slogan contest. Now, every good thing has a branding, and we want your help in kind of forming our branding. And by that, what we mean is we want you to help us come up with a slogan, something funny, something witty, something good. We want all three of those if possible. But here's what you're going to do. After you get done viewing this, come up with your slogan, if you will. We want you to post that on our Facebook page, okay? You can either post that in the comments of the episode, or you can just post it on the page. All entries will be counted. And then what we're going to do as the Rock Office staff is we're going to pour over all those entries, and we're going to pick out the top 3 that we think are the best, the funniest, the ones that truly fit what the Rock Office does and what we bring you. And we're going to post those up on Facebook, and we're going to put that to a fan vote and to a vote period. So what that means for you is that not only are you going to have the opportunity to vote on it, but you're going to have the opportunity to get your friends, your family members, and anybody else that you know involved and ask them to vote for your slogan so that your slogan can be picked. And then ultimately, obviously, the winner is the person that gets the most votes. We're going to have their slogan as our slogan here at the Rock Office. And to kind of reward you for that, what we're doing is we're going to be getting some t-shirts. And ultimately, on the backs of those t-shirts is going to be that Rock Office slogan. And you'll get, obviously, a free Rock Office t-shirt. And you're going to probably also be able to dip into Bill's bag of swag. Now, I know that kind of sounds a little gay, but it's not. Trust me. It's actually good stuff that's in there. With that being said, we want to hear from all of you. So we're looking forward to a lot of different entries. We're looking forward to a lot of witty, funny things. Make us roll, make us laugh. We'll even share some of the runners-up and some of the submissions, on our future episodes in between now and July 1st to kind of let everybody know where they're at and where we're at and what we're doing here. But we want to hear from you. We want you to be a part of what we're doing.
Yeah. So make sure you send those entries in. Remember, you can leave them on our Facebook page, you can leave them on the comment section of the YouTube page, or you can just email them to us at therockoffice@ymail.com. So get those entries, and we will be sharing the best ones and maybe even sharing some of the worst ones.
That's right. All right.
Awesome.
Get them in.
All right, this week's Battle Royale is per viewer request. Big shout out to Joe in Wisconsin.
Joe in Wisconsin.
Thanks for the suggestion. Keep those suggestions coming because we do read them. We do like when we get viewer comments. So, Joe, this one's for you. In this corner, we have Poison, one of glam rock's biggest and most influential monsters that are still rolling and touring after 25 years.
In this corner, we've got Dr. Feelgood themselves, Motley Crue.
Now, quite frankly, this is a very, very interesting because only someone like Joe would really think to debate these two.
Yeah, way to go, Joe.
But the similarities between these bands really could go on forever. They both had big ballad hits that people still cover and sing today. They both had those balls-to-the-wall rocker and party anthems that you still hear all over the radio.
They're both pretty washed up.
Yeah, both have blonde hair, blue-eyed lead singers. Both subscribe to owning stock in Aquanet in the 80s. But for me, there's two main factors that tip the hat to Poison. The first one is I think their songs are better. I think Bret Michaels is a good lyricist. Actually, CeCe DeVille, I think, is probably one of the most underrated guitar players of that era. And, well, the second factor is I'm just sick to death of Tommy Lee and the other guys in Motley Crue. I really could care less if he falls off the face of the planet. He's just so pompous, so arrogant, and his persona is really, in my opinion, just super exceeded his talent. When I see him making out with Dave Navarro on television, there's just something that really just says, man, what's happened to you? So, to me, the clear-cut winner in this is Poison.
Man, don't watch the shows he's watching. You know.
You gotta open your mind, Kevin.
Open my mind, yes, no. My pick actually in this one is the opposite. It is, in fact, Motley Crue. I picked Motley Crue, although via a very tight race. I picked Motley Crue because I can remember back in the early 90s, some of their greatest material coming out. You know, the Dr. Feelgood album, had some great tunes on there. Dr. Feelgood, Kickstart My Heart, just to name a couple of them that really, when I hear them, they really get me going. And I just, I agree. Bret Michaels is a great frontman and a great lyricist. I like them both. And this is probably, once again, thanks, Joe, because this is the toughest one I think that I've actually had thus far. I could go either way on this. It's like, just teeter-tottering right in the center. Some days Poison is it. Some days Motley Crue is it. But if I had to make a definitive decision, I'd definitely say Motley Crue at this point. Tommy Lee, yeah, he's gone way off the deep end. The fact of the matter is he's been there for quite a while now. But with that being said, way back in the 90s and even the late 80s when Motley Crue was really big, he was one of the first ones to do some of the greatest stunts as far as with the drums are concerned and the cage and everything along those lines. And being a drummer, I can respect that. But Motley Crue as a whole, really, they partied hard. They put out some great music. And in my mind, they are the winners here.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it's a close-cut race. I don't know. I just think of Poison had a real knack, a real treatment of ballads. I can't stand really any of Motley's ballads. Home Sweet Home is just so overplayed, and Without You off of the big ballad off of Dr. Feelgood is actually really horrible. Now, Kickstart My Heart, Don't Go Away Mad, Just Go Away. Those are excellent rocker songs. You hear them on the radio, you still turn them up. If you want to compare albums, Flesh and Blood to Dr. Feelgood, which came out about the same time, hands down, in my opinion, goes to Flesh and Blood. The songs are much stronger, the material is stronger, the musicianship. I think, like I said before, CeCe DeVille is one of the most underrated guitar players of that era. And, for me, and I also think the ladies probably would go with Poison. From what I understand, the ladies and maybe some gentlemen
what
prefer.
Are you telling us here, Bill?
I'm not telling you anything other than I think the general sense.
Well, I think if you look at it on a ballad basis, yeah, Poison had better ballads, but when you're talking about rock and really hard hitting music, I really think
I don't know. Ride the Wind, Unskinny Bop.
Yeah. It's all good. I know it's a tough decision. Fact of the matter is it really could go either way. I can agree with you.
Yeah, and for the most part, they both look the same. They both have blonde lead singers. Everyone else had dark hair.
And that was the look of the time. It was the way it was. So, what we think. We want to know what you think. Let us know on our Tumblr site, which is of course therockofffice.tumblr.com. Let us know what you think. Tell us who you would pick and why you would pick them, because this is a really interesting one, thanks to Joe.
Remember, you can also vote on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/rockoffice. Make sure you like and subscribe to us there also.
We're also available on iTunes these days. So if you go to the iTunes store, go to the podcast section, type in the Rock Office. We are right there on the top of the list. We'll come right up and check us out. Subscribe to us on iTunes, and you'll be one of the first ones to get our episodes when they come out.
Also, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. It's the Rock Office channel on YouTube, and you can subscribe there and be the first to get our episodes there also.
Yeah, so basically we're whoring ourselves out on the media. We want to hear from you. We want you to like us. We want you to follow us. And quite honestly, put it out there, man. Show everybody what you're watching. I'm sure that they'll enjoy it as well.
And if you're an independent artist and would like to get your music featured on this show, you can email us at therockofffice@ymail.com or leave us a message on our Facebook page.
Well, we appreciate you tuning in today. We've had some fun going through our top 10 live albums of all time, as well as that Battle Royale, thanks to Joe. Bill, anything you'd like to say?
Nothing, not really. Just remember to support your local independent record stores by buying the physical copies of music instead of the digital downloads. And we will see you next time. Take care. God bless.